listening to Food Rebels, and welcome. This is the podcast that brings you brands, chefs, and live on-air tastings. A show that's dedicated to the more rebellious side of the food world, where we celebrate the people who have challenged the status quo. We'll be giving you a peek behind the curtains and inside the minds of the people who are shaking up our food industry. You know me, I'm the show host, AJ Sharp, taste expert, food writer, great taste food judge, and of course, business owner. I love meeting new people and tasting new foods. So, sit back as we hear more stories from people in food who dare to be different.
It's my very great pleasure on this week's episode of Food Rebels to welcome the TV icon legend, Gok Wan.
Look at that for an intro, AJ. Can you just follow me around and announce me into every room I walk into, please?
I would love to.
How are you doing? Are you well?
I'm really well, thank you.
I've got a question for you. I'm gonna open up this pod interview with me interviewing you, and it's a question that I ask many people that I know that are, love food or passionate about food, like I am. Is how's your eating at the moment?
My eating?
Yeah, how's your eating?
Very good. I'm always trying something new every single time.
Great. What have you tried new that I should have in my life?
Well, sneak preview of someone who's coming on the podcast after you.
Yeah.
Wilderby, just met the lovely man Dan Shearman, who makes this incredible hot honey, and it's chili infused honey, and it's absolutely
wow, that's delicious. There's a dressing that we do in Southeast Asian food, which is honey, chili, and soy sauce. It's a really simple. It's like the most basic teriyaki that you could possibly have, and it works. It works on top of rice. It works up on any protein whatsoever. If you just want to jazz something up, and the beauty of it is obviously you've got the yin and the yang, the sweet and the hot, and the whatever, but also as well, the basic, the chemicals in the honey. It's sticky. It sticks to anything. And I think a sauce should stick, as far as I'm concerned. If it slides off, I don't want to go near it. And so I think he's onto an absolute winner there. So good luck to you with that. And I must give the product a try.
It's amazing. But God, we know you as a kind of fashion icon, really. Where's your love of food come from?
So my parents owned restaurants and takeaways all the way through our childhood. So my dad moved to the UK from Hong Kong with his father, and the family opened up the first Chinese restaurant in Leicester called the Hung Lao back in the 1960s. I was born in 1974, and so I've never not been around food. From a very early age, as legend has it in the Wan family household, my mum would take us to work. I mean, the social services would have something to say about what I'm about to say now, but it was what we did. And so back in the early 70s, my mum would take us all to work as kids because they worked in the restaurant, and I would be, or me and my sister would be, in egg boxes, in a cupboard in the kitchen, looked after and catered for and whatever. And because that's just kind of what they did in the 1970s, and that's what you did if you had a family-owned business. And so I guess the smell of food and the noise of, pans and customers and shouting and stuff like that, it's so familiar. It's so wonderful. It feels like home. It feels warm. It feels comforting. And so I guess my love of food comes from that, from my family and it being our business. And it's never left me, ever. And I will always continue to be very passionate about food, and not so much eating it, bizarrely, because I love eating. I really do, and I eat well. But I love sharing food. It's one of my greatest privileges in life. I cook probably for other people 4 or 5 times a week, whether that is having people in to eat at my house, or me taking food over to them, or taking it into work, or whatever. I'm constantly cooking for other people, and I love it. It's it's how I relax, actually.
It's your love language.
Yeah, it is. It is my love language. Amongst other things, I love music, I love fashion, I love, any creative services. I love all of that stuff. And do you know what? Actually, I'm not going to take that back. It's not my love language. I disagree. I don't feel that food is my love language. I feel it's my everyday language. Because I think that, and the reason I'm saying that is I think that a love language can sometimes be premeditated. It's something you have to really think about. For me, a natural instinct is for me to go, right, I'm going to cook these. I'm better do double a batch because I'm going to give them out to everyone. And so it's my everyday language. It's my most basic way of communicating, is serving people food.
It's gorgeous, though. And that gift giving, though, that element there is a beautiful way to show love, show somebody you were thinking of them.
But it's not unconditional. It's really not at all. I absolutely am going to quiz you until you are bored, senseless about the taste, the texture, the balance. I want to know absolutely everything. And God forbid you're going to disagree with me, because then you're going to be in trouble, and I will argue that one as well. So, and also I've got this terrible, terrible habit, and I heard myself say it twice today already. I cooked a huge shepherd's pie last night, and it's delicious. It's one of the best things I've ever cooked in my entire life. And that's one of the statements that I'll make about everything that I cook. Oh my God, that is the best bread I've ever made in my... Oh my God, that shepherd's pie is the best thing I've ever cooked. I say it all the time, and I don't even know where that comes from. If there are any psychologists listening to this pod right now, please tell us, where is it? Where does it come from? Because it's not narcissism. It's not my ego. I do genuinely think it's the best.
It's beautiful positivity. I love
optimism.
it.
It's just total painful optimism.
I love it though, because I think so often people go, oh, I actually meant to put bay leaves in this, so sorry if it doesn't taste right. You think, why did you tell me?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, no, it's so funny though, isn't it? Because we all eat, and we all have to eat, and majority of us love to eat as well. I think that, and that could be really basic stuff. And I very rarely in my life have I met somebody that says, no, I don't enjoy eating whatsoever. I just do it just to get through, or just to get enough substance in my body. And so we all do it. So it's one of those things that we all have in common. It's such a great community bringer-inner. I'm just recreating the English language there, but it's a great way of bringing us all together, because we can all find something to talk about, like the weather. We all share the weather. We all experience the weather every single day. But no one's bothered about us talking about us breathing, are they? Because we all have to do that every single day. But you don't have someone sitting there going, oh my God, I did the best breath I've ever had in my entire life. But actually, when it comes to food, it's a great way of bringing us all into one space.
It is, and you share it. You
Yeah.
share in the same dish. What are your favourite dishes to cook?
I've got so many, and I really, really honestly have. And so I've got kind of dishes that I've got what I call work dishes. A lot of Southeast Asian dishes that I've done on television. I'm put into my cookbooks and cooking shows and stuff. And it's the kind of stuff like, I wouldn't do a twice cooked belly pork at home. I just wouldn't do it. And, I'm not gonna roast off half a duck and, Szechuan style. And, I'm not gonna dehydrate it for 3 days and all that kind of thing.
Might be.
It's just not going to happen. But my personal passion for food, and it always has been this, is street food. I love street food. I love the stuff that you have to kind of roll your sleeves up and get tucked into. Anything which is served on a cart, I love and I will adore. I don't struggle, because I get fine dining. I understand it. I don't feel necessarily comfortable in fine dining. I'm always really hungry after fine dining. But I like the theatre of it. I like the design of the restaurant and the design of the lighting and the music. All of that stuff I love. When it comes down to the basic food, if it's on a stick or on a skewer, and it's been marinated in a sauce that nobody else in the world knows what's in there, I'm going to love it. So it's going to kind of be, for me, those types of dishes. And they tend to be quite simple, actually. So one of my favourite dishes to eat is just a really simple cucumber salad, which is a Szechuan, Szechuan peppercorns and chili and soy sauce, and my mouth's watering as I talk about it. Something like that I love. I really, really love making, because it's just so delicious and so versatile. But then also as well, I am the king of the curry. I absolutely love making curries, and whether that's a Malaysian curry, or it's a Japanese curry, or a South Asian curry, it doesn't matter. I love making a curry, and I think that a curry possibly has everything in life that you need. It has heat, and it has sensuality, and it has beauty. I think a curry has absolutely everything.
I love that. What a nice idea. And there's something very experiential about the way you're talking about food. Like, I can see that this is quite an intrinsic passion for you.
Yeah, it really is. I think food is important. I've spoken very publicly about, in contrast to that, very publicly about my eating disorder. I live with an eating disorder. I was diagnosed with anorexia in my 20s, and it's something that I will live with for the rest of my life. It doesn't go away. It's kind of there. And so food for me is, and to love food is massively important because of that. Because if I was not to love food, then it could be quite dangerous for me. And I understand that now. And I'm really lucky that I get to control my eating disorder. Not everyone does. And so as well, when that passion is from a really pure place, and it's from a place of, I know that food has, in a lot of senses, kept me alive. And so it's also really important that I share that as well, and I share those stories and I share that passion, so it comes kind of double fold.
I'm sorry you live with that. It must be very challenging for you, but I love that you've channeled it into such a beautiful, positive thing. You just feel like such a positive person that you're reframing everything and spinning it around to make it into something that is empowering rather than disempowering.
Well, thank you. I think life's important, and I think that we have to learn to do that. I've been in such a lucky position the whole of my life, AJ, is that I get to help people. I help dress people, and I feed people, and I play people music, and I promote their entertainment and their happiness. You may even think a DJ could possibly also increase people's serotonin levels. I get to do all these things. I get to feed people and share, a recipe that my dad has given me that he learned from, the mountains of Hong Kong. That's a gift. That is fucking incredible. I'm just going to say it. It's absolutely incredible. And that's where my positivity comes from, I think, is because I don't think that we can ever look at our lives and take it for granted and think that actually I deserve this. I deserve the privilege of feeding someone, or I deserve the privilege of dressing someone, or, me doing this for a living. I deserve this. I don't deserve any of this stuff. I am lucky that I've been given this job. And for me, when I'm cooking for someone, or I'm sharing my food stories or my food journey, including my eating disorder, God, I'm lucky. I'm so lucky that people want to listen to it, and people maybe want to try out a recipe, or maybe that they want to hear about my father growing up and, burying sweet potatoes in the ground and them cooking throughout his school day, things like that, which is a gorgeous, beautiful story about survival and food and nutrition. And we're talking about a sweet potato. We're not talking about caviar. We're not talking about lobster. We're talking about a sweet potato. That story comes with love and heart and history and ingenuity.
He buried it.
He buried it. My dad said that when he was a child in Hong Kong, it was so hot that then on the walk to school in the morning, as we would go there, he would bury a sweet potato in the ground at the hottest point of the mountain. And then he would go to school all day. And when he came back, he would then dig up the sweet potato, peel it, and he would eat it. And it would cook in the ground.
That is incredible.
A beautiful story, And the thing is, my dad, now knowing my father, whether that's true or not, is, but it kind of doesn't matter. That's a food story that my dad told me, and it's a story that I tell everyone if they will listen to me, because it's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Isn't it gorgeous? And, whether it's real or not, it kind of doesn't matter. It's brilliant. My dad is. Talking about passion of food, my dad is so passionate, was so passionate about food, not so much in his older years, but everything that he spoke about was food. And I remember watching the World Cup many, many years ago with my dad, who loves football. I love football as well. And Michael Owen had the ball, and he was running down the pitch. He was about to score. And my dad who's tiny man. He's on the edge of his leather Chesterfield sweet sofa type thing, and he's so excited, he's kind of bobbing up and down, and as Michael Owen's getting to the goal to score, my dad just screams at the top of his voice, "His legs are like chili, hot and spicy." And it was his way. It was his way of saying that he was running fast. But of course, the analogy involved food. It was my dad, and that for me made perfect sense. And that's I've been brought up around it, and it's kind of what I do now as well.
It's incredible. As you were telling that story about burying the potato, it was making me think of my own children, and if I could get them to eat an entire potato, unprocessed, pure vegetables, just like that, without any mashing, anything else, I would be in heaven.
Oh, it may happen. You may have to take them to Hong Kong, though.
Oh, okay.
There you go. It could be a very expensive potato.
Very little to ask. It's fantastic. And you're also DJing.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've DJed for over a decade now, which kind of happened by accident. I didn't ever really set out to be a DJ. I've always thrown, again, food related, I've always thrown great Sunday parties in my kitchen. And I would have between 30 and 50 people over, and we would do a potluck party. So everyone would bring a different dish, and we had just mountains of food. And I have got the most colourful friends from all around the world. And so we would have the most beautiful foods. And anyway, and actually some of them not brilliant foods. I'm going to be very honest. I love you very much, but sometimes it was a bit, questionable. But anyway, so I'd have all this food, and I would throw these parties on a Sunday. And it got to the point where my friends would say to me, you have us all over, we cause a massive mess, but you don't talk to any of us because you spend the whole time playing music to us. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're onto something there. And I got thinking about it, and I thought to myself, well, actually, maybe there is something in this. And I've always been a massive househead. I've listened to dance music since I was in my mid-teens, and I'm very passionate about it, and I love it. And the following week after my friend said that to me, after one of our big, very famous Sunday parties, which were very debauched, my friend Fern Cotton was she was one of her book launches, and I went along to it, and I kind of just pulled her to one side and said, look, I'm thinking, because she was on the radio at the time, I'm thinking about becoming a DJ. Me not knowing that a radio disc jockey was completely different to a club DJ, not had any idea, I don't have any idea at all. And she said, and I said, I'm thinking about becoming a DJ. And she said, brilliant, I know somebody that's got an agency, we'll get you signed to that agency. So I was like, brilliant, let's do it. That Monday I got signed. Then I got my first booking, which was in front of 14,000 people. Never really touched proper kit. Didn't have a back catalogue of music. Didn't know what I was doing. So bought all the kit, learnt how to do it on YouTube. And then all of a sudden I find myself in Scotland in front of 14,000 people DJing. And it was the most horrific set you've ever heard in your entire life. It wasn't well put together. It was just music that I loved or whatever. But every person in that audience loved it because I loved it. And from that moment on, it's kind of turned into something now. And it's now 50% of my work. It's what I do. I am half of me is, TV, radio, fashion, food. And the other half of me is a DJ. And it's taken over 10 years to get to here. And we've worked really hard to get here. We've made massive personal compromises, and we've done lots of different things. But I love it. I'm really as passionate about DJing as I am about food or fashion.
I love that for you. You're a man of so many different talents across so many
greedy. Some people say, I say polymath, but some people say greedy.
Well, I think when you follow your heart and you're doing things because you're trying to put good energy into the world, I think you can go to some really exciting different places and do.
Yeah. I'm quite lucky. I've always been quite fearless. I get nervous about stuff, and I get really upset and worried that I've offended someone. That happens all the time. But when it comes to me making a fool of myself, I am quite fearless about that. I don't care. I don't care about that. I don't care if people think I'm foolish. I care what they think about me. I care about what they think of my ethics or my morals or my social standings. But I don't care if people think that I'm an idiot or foolish or whatever. And so I think that has armed me very well for being able to turn my hand to different things, because really none of it was ever planned. I never ever planned to be a fashion stylist or a TV presenter or a radio presenter. I guess the only thing really that I knew that I would do at some point was work with food, because it's where I was born. It's what I do.
It's amazing. When you're working with food, do you have a favorite ingredient, a favorite thing that you go to all the time?
What do you mean, product?
Product. Could be a product, could be, I don't mind. Just a favourite ingredient.
A favourite ingredient that I always go to? Probably light soy.
Light soy?
Light soy goes into absolutely everything, whether I am... whether I'm making a kind of Western gravy, or if I'm it doesn't matter what so it's got that umami in there. I think that it's really hard to replicate. Now, we know that umami comes from lots of different products. We know that, a dried shiitake mushroom has got umami, a miso has got umami, but there's something about the soya bean. There's something about the way that the soy sauce has been made or processed or fermented or whatever that I think is so unique, and it's so versatile. versatile that I think it literally will go into any dish. And, you know, and often it's, you know, the perfect yin to someone's yang, because you've only often got to add one other ingredient to it and it completely revolutionizes it or changes it or whatever. So I think probably light soy.
Amazing. I've got this image in my head of you in your kitchen. You've got the beets going, you've got this incredible food, you've got all your friends around you. You must have a complete tip of a house afterwards. It must be completely nuts.
Kind of, but also as well, I love cleaning. And if I'm really honest, and I like a clean home. So what I tend to do is I party just as hard. But then for me, the cleaning process for me is really important, because my home is my palace. It's my castle. It's where I entertain. It's where I live. It's where I sleep. It's where I eat. It's where I do all of my stuff. I even work from home. You know, for me, home is massively important. And I guess probably I didn't have so much of that when we were growing up, because majority of our growing up time was in the restaurant. It was surrounded by customers and staff and food and whatever, which is brilliant and amazing. But now for me, my home is really precious, because it's somewhere that I have to go and reset myself and do all of those things. And so because of that, as much as the party is important, and as much as, you know, having friends over is important, actually getting the house back to where it should be, so it's my space again, is just as important.
Yeah, I bet. And do you have any particular kind of techniques or anything that you use to do that? Because I am terrible at cleaning. I'm really good at tidying.
Do you know what? I think doing it as you go along. I think constantly doing it as you go along. If you leave everything for a big clean at the end of the week or a big clean at the end of the fortnight, I think that you might struggle, because everything feels like a huge mountain to climb. Whereas I think that, you know, for instance, whatever I cook, I will always clean my cooker after I've cooked. Now, but that could just be a soup, or it could be, you know, an elaborate banquet. But I will always properly clean down the range after I've cooked, because I think that, you know, if you keep on top of things, they don't feel as intimidating.
I agree with that. There is something very satisfying about cleaning off the whole of the hob.
Yeah.
Kids, now they're 11 and 9, and they've got really into cooking. And, you know, like you, I grew up in a family where people were cooking all the time.
Yeah.
I was always very confident about putting a pan on, cracking an egg. I knew how to do all of that, and my two do as well, which is brilliant. So I'm delighted that they are whipping up scrambled eggs on a Saturday morning.
It's amazing, yeah.
But I'm not so delighted because they don't clean up anything. Like, that's the next stage of training for them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is, and I think also as well, I guess growing up in the restaurant, cleanliness obviously was massively important, because we were serving food, and we had to hit certain standards, government standards actually, for the health regulator coming around and stuff like that. And so I guess I was always around it. But I think also teaching people how to prep food and get everything ready to go, and teaching them about cleaning up afterwards is just as important as the balance of seasoning. It's just as important as how, you know, you present the food, how you decorate the food, how you put it onto a table and put it in front of people. I think all of those processes, I think, you know, the whole journey of food is interesting, and being proud of all of it, I think it's really important. It's not just about the eating. It's not just about, you know, even the designing of the menu. I can spend days thinking about what I'm going to cook for people if I've got people over. I'm talking days, 3 or 4 days of really thinking about it, and without research. So I'm not a Googler. I don't Google a recipe. I'll start thinking about, oh, okay, so I know that I've got, you know, a vegetarian, a vegan, a whatever, and I also know that I've got, okay, really big personalities there, but actually some shyer people that are over. So I need to balance that out a little bit. You know, all of those things I think go into it.
Absolutely. And one of the things, we had lovely Heston Blumenthal on the show a couple of months ago, and he was talking about the atmosphere in a kitchen and how that affects the food that comes out.
Yeah.
And a happy kitchen creates happier food. And it's something that's really stayed with me ever since. I think about food and, where was this made? Was this made in a kitchen or a factory of people that were happy? Or was this made in a factory where they were not happy?
I mean, there are so many different places to go to. And I think that also as well, I think conversation is massively important. I think that when you're designing a menu for people, you also need to design a menu of conversation topics as well. I think that's really, I will often write down a list of things that I will bring up at the dinner table on purpose that I know would be either provocative or would be funny or would be really interesting. And they kind of weirdly go with the meal. And so, because I know that if we're eating a slow meal and, it's kind of, scene after scene coming out, then I know that we need to keep things going. We're in for the long run. If I've got friends over and it's kind of a tear of bread situation, and, just a big bowl of salad type thing, I know it needs to be punchy and sharp and all those kind of things. So I think there's so many things to think about, and all this stuff is food related. All of this stuff is food related.
That's incredible. I've definitely never thought about different conversation topics. I just let it happen.
I've got a really good one for you. So this is probably one of the best ones that you can put around a table, and this will work for absolutely anyone, because so Bosch did some research on people dropping food and eating it or not, or dropping food and not eating it. And this research literally split the country in half by 43 to 57%, right? 43% of people said that they would follow the 5-second rule. So what you do, you've got this dinner party, you then open this question up and you say to everyone, right, if you were to drop something now, would you pick it up or not? This is my floor, so I'm clean and tidy, but are you still going to eat it? You are then going to split the table in half, statistically in half. But then here is your big one. This is your big gun that you're coming in for. You then ask the question, do you know where the 5-second rule comes from? We all know the 5-second rule. It's lasted. Everyone in the world uses the 5-second rule, but where does it come from? I can guarantee not a single one of your guests will know where it comes from. And I'm now going to tell you on your podcast, so you can basically be the best entertaining cook in the world. So you turn around and say, right, if you were to cuss me, if you were to slag me off for eating that bit of bread that I've just dropped on the floor within 5 seconds, all you've got to do is say, if it's good enough for Genghis, it's good enough for me, because it comes from the time of the Khan rule. And so apparently Genghis Khan's floor was so clean and so majestic and gorgeous, you could eat your dinner off of it. Now, this has stood the test of time for all those years, centuries and centuries and centuries, and we still follow that rule right now. That will get everybody around the table talking. So if you ever have a little icy moment, it goes a little bit too chilly around that table, people have run out of things to say, no one's had a divorce and no one's had a breakup, and you're struggling, knock out the Genghis Khan one.
I love that.
There you go. Perfect.
I mean, I like the idea. The 5-second rule, I think, is very much related to a particular type of food. For example, a crisp, the surface area has
100%
floor as much as, say, a piece of, you mentioned shepherd's pie earlier. Yeah. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Do you know what? You're absolutely right. There are some caveats, and it does depend on the product. I mean, if you really want to push this conversation, which I can tell AJ you do, I'll give you another stat just for your locker here, which is 24% of people admit they'd eat food dropped in public, but 69% draw the line on a date. So it also depends on whether you're being judged by somebody else as well, if you really want to push that conversation. So we all kind of know we're going to do it anyway. If it's expensive, you've worked hard for it, it doesn't matter if it's on the floor for 5 seconds or 5 minutes, you're going to eat it. It's going to happen. But in front of someone that you're potentially going to spend the rest of your life with, or you fancy the pants off of them, you aren't going to pick it up off the floor. So it has all these different caveats. It's a great conversation starter at the dinner table, and it's food related, which is even better.
I know, but can you imagine being on a date with someone that you really fancy and they turn and pick something up off the floor? It would have to depend on the floor, wouldn't it?
No, it depends on them. It has nothing to do with the floor. I mean, obviously, the thing is, if we're in a beach hut in Thailand, yeah, of course, we're not going to eat that off the floor. But if it's a reasonably clean floor and we think it's going to be reasonably clean, if that person is, number one, you find them very attractive. Number two, if they do it with fun, humour, and with sophistication, and it has some intelligence behind it, i.e. they tell you, well, actually, Genghis Khan, if somebody told me the Genghis Khan thing, I'm on a date with them, I'm already working out how am I going to get to the chapel. I'm already getting married.
I love it. You're a goner at that point.
Exactly. It's all down to personality.
I do remember reading a scientific paper or something that said the 5-second rule definitely applies in your own home, where it's your own pets and your own microbiome of germs. Actually, it really applies there.
Yeah, I agree. But the thing is, also as well, what's brilliant about this is this, the 5-second rule brings the community together. Whether you're for or against, you are part of it. You're either one or the other. And we will all have our own rules, won't we? Do you know what I mean? We will all, if I'm on my own and I drop a bit of toast with some gorgeous, hand churned salted butter on and it falls on the floor, that's my dog. That's Dolly. I'm going to pick off that hair and I'm going to enjoy that slice of toast. I don't care what anyone says. And you know what? Come for me about it. There's bigger issues in the world.
There are bigger issues in the world, but I know what you mean. Your own family is fine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really interesting. Who did you say did that research?
So it was Bosch that did the research. They're incredible, and they've been looking into how we basically live our lives, how we clean our homes, and everything else. And they're really, really good for doing that research because it's a brilliant piece of conversation.
That's amazing. I'm going to have to look it up now. Just ready, obviously, for my
ready for your next dinner party.
It's like that moment, isn't it? What was worse, losing the sausage roll or whatever, or realizing that then the floor that you've dropped it on isn't your own floor? It's a bad floor.
I think it's always losing the sausage roll, isn't it? Who doesn't love a sausage roll? I mean, do you love a sausage roll?
I'm ambivalent.
Tell me, what's your favourite dish?
My favourite dish.
Ever, of all time. Okay, all right. So I'm going to give you another situation, right? Okay, so you are about to get on an aircraft and go to a planet where you will only be given kind of basic liquid pouches of food and nutrition for the rest of your life. It's going to happen. Sorry, you're going there. It's just going to happen. You've got 1 hour. You've got to cook and you've got to eat the dish that you're making. You can have any ingredient in the world, any utensil in the world, but you've only got an hour to make it in. What are you going to eat?
Oh, that's so hard. I had two thoughts that went through my head. One was sort of luxury ingredients of, lobsters and steak and everything. And then this sort of practical mum voice just bounced straight through and went, I'd probably use up the leftovers in the fridge and make a risotto with it.
It would not be... Do you know what? No one's last meal is ever risotto.
Really? I love risotto. I make it 2 times a week. It's my using up all the bits in the fridge. I've got bits of this.
I've got nothing against a risotto, but it's the first time I've ever heard that that's your death row dinner is a risotto. I mean, come on. I tell you what mine is, and we might have to close on this one, unfortunately, because I've got my next call coming in. My death row dinner is probably, are you ready for this? KFC.
Is it?
Because I don't eat it. I just don't eat it, but I love it. And if I'm going to die, I'm just going to eat it anyway.
So you might as well have the...
I'm just going to eat it. So it's probably going to be a bucket of KFC.
I love that. Ashamedly so.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for talking to me about food. And thank you very, very much for your generosity for having me on the pod.
Thank you so much for coming on the pod. It's been an absolute treat.
Thank you so much for listening. You've been listening to Food Rebels, which is available on radio stations around the UK and further afield. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Audible. Please remember to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars or follow us. It makes such a difference, not just to our podcast and radio show, but it really helps to support the guests that come on the show with us. We're also on Instagram at food_rebels. So give us a follow, do get in touch. We love hearing from you and let us know what you think. Thanks so much for joining us and make sure you taste the rebellion.